Hey folks, welcome back to Max Nave Horsemanship again today. And well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit disappointing today because I promised you in the last video I was going to do a video today on a concept that might save your horse's life, but unfortunately I still don't have anybody to run the camera for me, to follow me around, and it would require a considerable amount of movement in the horse, which would mean I got to have somebody on camera. I'm going to be out of shot all the time. You're never going to see anything. But it's an important enough concept that I'm going to explain in as best detail as I can what I'm doing. Now, one of the first things you're going to do here, it's not super complicated, so pay attention. If you pay attention to this video, you're going to figure out what I'm talking about. And I'm going to hopefully explain it well enough, and then if I'm really lucky after I'm done while I'm editing this, I'm going to do a little searching and see if I can find another video where somebody else does it. And if I find that, I'm going to try hard. And if I can find a good video for you, I'm going to put that in the description. I'll put a link to that in the description, and you can go watch that one. I don't care whose it is. This is something that's important, and if I'm not the one getting all the applause for it, that doesn't really matter. Watching somebody else's channel, and that's one thing you're going to find about good horsemen is they encourage one another. They don't compete. That's not how it works, although it might seem that way sometimes when you see things like colt starting competitions and something like that. It might seem like they're being competitive, but for the most part, a lot of them are actually friends with one another, and they trade ideas, and they encourage one another, and they watch one another, doing demos. There's some really good guys I know that they've even shared the same stage when doing talks about different things, because that's something. Talking, talks. I got criticized in the past for talking too much in my videos, not showing enough, and well, unfortunately, I think the opposite is true of many videos. Is they show you stuff, but they don't talk enough to explain what's going on, how it, what exactly they're doing and how it works, and which explains why the horse behaves the way it does when it, how it responds to things. There's lots of talking to be done, and I'm going to do some of that. And in the process, I'm going to explain to you what we're doing. Now, it's going to start off with some principles that you've already used, is with the pressure and release, when you're getting your horse to follow your cues with the lead, or pretty much anything you're doing. You're using the same principles you're going to use today. Now, there's only a couple of things that are really important before you do this, that you have to be good at picking up the horse's feet. The horse has to be okay with that stuff. The horse has to lead well and send well. And, well, you have to have a number of basics in place before you can try this stuff. So just remember that. If you just go ahead and try doing this as one of the first things, it's probably not going to work. And, well, even if you do it right, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise to you somehow. Now, to start with, what I'm going to do today, just to make life a little easier, because there's two different ways of doing this. One is in a round pen, which we happen to have one. So just because it makes life a lot easier, I'm going to use this. I'm actually going to, for the first time that you're going to see, I'm actually going to use a round pen as a round pen. And, well, actually I shouldn't say it's the first time you're going to see, because you're not going to get to see it, but I'm going to actually use a round pen. But the one other way to do it, if you don't have a round pen, which a lot of you don't, you're going to want to do it on lead. Now, to do that on lead, you're going to need a fairly long lead. Well, I have a fairly long training lead that'll almost reach from the center to here, to the outside edge of the round pen. So, but I'm not going to use it because I don't have enough hands. And when you start putting a horse on a lead while you're doing this, it causes problems, because you're also going to have one more rope in your hands too. And well, today you see I got a lariat here, and that's not because you don't need a lariat for this, by the way. You can do this with any suitable piece of rope that's long enough that, and this one, when I string it out, it's going to be long enough. I can go right in the middle of the round pen. Basically, it doesn't matter where the horse goes in this round pen. I got enough rope here that it's not going to get away on me. And that's kind of important. You don't want the horse to get away on you because, well, that can really mess things up for you. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to need a rope that has, well, some kind of a loop in the end of it like this that can be tightened up fairly easy. Now, that's what these are designed for. They're designed for roping, so they actually stay fairly stiff too. But that's a bit of a disadvantage for what we're doing. We don't really want to use it just the way it is. We're going to change it a little bit, but not a lot. Nothing that you can't do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little twist in it and fold it around, if I can get it done here. There we go. Okay, basically you take your big loop, you twist it into a figure eight, and then you fold it over. So when you put it on the horse's leg, now this is what you're going to have to do, and that's why I say you got to be able to pick up the horse's feet good without it overreacting. You don't want to get kicked or anything like that. And you're going to take this thing, and the reason you're going to do this, there's two reasons for this, is if you were to leave it as a single loop, it could potentially tighten up too much. And you don't want to cause discomfort to the horse, but at the same time, these are also kind of made to loosen off, and it'd probably fall off the horse's foot. There we go. By making a figure eight and then folding it over like that, it's going to be a lot harder to over-tighten it. You don't have to worry about that. And because it naturally wants to spring out and that, it's going to kind of just hold itself on the horse's leg. Okay, so that's the beginning. You start off, you put this on the horse's leg. Now, when you first put it on the horse's leg, most horses, not all, but most horses are already going to start reacting the minute there's something on the leg. They're going to start kicking it a little bit, trying to shake it off their leg. And that's kind of a normal reaction, but that's actually the kind of reaction we don't want in the end. So this is what we're trying to get rid of, because we don't want a horse getting reactive when there's something on its leg. We want the horse to learn to stand still when there's something on its leg, because it could save its life. And I'm going to tell a little story here. Actually, well, a couple stories, maybe I'll throw them all together. How this applies, what we're doing, and how it can save a horse's life. Now, I'm sure that you have, if you haven't, you probably will, hear stories about horses that have gotten caught in wire or fences or something, and they struggled and end up cutting their leg. Now, there's a lot of variations in how bad that can be, and in a severe case, it can cut a tendon. You have a permanently lame horse. The worst case scenario, it actually cuts an artery in the leg, and the horse bleeds to death and ends up dead. And you definitely don't want that. You don't want a permanently lame horse either. At the very least, you might end up with, needing some stitches in the cut, the wire cut, and that's going to run you up a vet bill, and you'll have to do an emergency call out and everything. So you could easily end up forking out $1,000 or $2,000 for that little event, and it's all preventable too. Now, that's and I know of people that this has happened to, where the horse has gotten tangled up in something and fought it a bit and ended up cutting themselves bad. And so I know this can happen. And that's the number one reason for doing this. And I've seen a number of good horsemen do it. And like I say, that's why when I'm editing this video, I'm going to do some searching and see if I can find out. I know if you ever come across Buck the movie, with Buck Brannaman in it, I do believe there's an example in that one of him leading by the hind leg. And there's another good horseman out there that I do believe has a video, but I think on his you have to actually pay for a subscription to get to that video. But I'm going to do some looking and see if I can find something else, because I'm sure there's got to be more than just those two guys out there that have done it. I know even guys like Tom Dorrance and such have done this kind of stuff. And, well, going back to learning the horse not to fight anything on its leg. Years ago, I had several horses, and I went out to where they were, and normally they'd all come running up into me. I had a smaller pen area where the water trough was, and when I got into there, they'd all come in there and meet me. Except the one day I went out there, and the one didn't. And I got a little concerned after a while. It's like, why is that one not coming? I better, never mind paying attention to these other ones, I better go check on old Queenie and see what's going on with her. And I went out there, and sure enough, laying in the grass where we couldn't see it was a piece of page wire. I don't know why it was there or where it came from or whatever. It wasn't my property. It was just where I was keeping my horses at the time. And she'd gotten one of her feet tangled up in this thing. And rather than fighting it, she just calmly stood there until I came out there and brought the appropriate tools and cut some of the wire and got her foot free. At which point she just took a few steps away from the thing and went back to grazing, totally non-reactive, which is great because had she panicked and fought, which a lot of horses would, she could have ended up cutting herself badly on that thing. Now, she may have gotten free eventually too. She wasn't tangled very bad, but it can be worse. And that's why we're doing this. We're doing this so that in the event that the horse does get tangled up in something, and I came to that realization when the fence went down and I had to bring the horses back in. The one, no problem. The other one, as soon as it got up to where the wire was laying on the ground and it touched it, it freaked out, had a meltdown. So that tells me I definitely need to be doing this stuff because had she gotten tangled in something, that could have been serious because she would have fought it because of the way she reacted to the wire laying on the ground from the fence. So back to what we're doing here. Pretty simple. It won't take me too long to explain this to you. But I'm going to take this like this, and I'm going to put it over the horse's leg. Now, like I said, at that point, the horse is going to probably fuss a little and kick at it a bit. I don't know. The level of reaction you're going to get from your horse may vary, but this is important to do. Now, I'm going to hook this on the horse's back leg, hind leg. This is what we're out there. This is referred to as leading by the hind leg. Now, it's not really leading, but well, the principles are much the same as leading, and we are in fact putting this on the hind leg. And we want, like I said, you want to fold it over like this so that you don't have a single loop because you don't want it to tighten up too much. Plus you don't want it falling off the horse's leg, and you can kind of see how this wants to sit like that, and that will keep it on the horse's leg. It won't fall off. And then pretty simple. Now we're going to take the rest of it and we'll just string it out. Doesn't really matter if I do it right now. We're not putting this on a horse because you won't be able to see it because we'll be going round and round in circles and you won't be able to see much. But we'll take this and string it out quite a distance and to basically where I'm going to be. Well, this doesn't want to stay strung out, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. It's long enough that at no point can the horse go far enough away from me that I can't hold on to that end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the horse start moving around. Now this is where it's important. You have to have the send in place, and it's also good if you don't have a horse on lead because depending on how responsive your horse is, it may take more than just a point. You may have to use a flag, which means you're definitely going to have both hands occupied already. So it's better if they're not on a lead. But if you have to, you can do it on a lead. If your horse sends good, you can work with a horse on a lead. It can be done, and that is one of those things I like to try to demonstrate how you can do things on lead so that if you don't have a round pen like this, which most of you don't, and some of you don't even have access to one, then, well, there's another way of doing things. And that's also where I stated how it's important to have some kind of a contained area to work in because, well, that way you can do stuff like this without a lead, and even if it's not exactly round, it doesn't really matter. It could be a square, rectangle, anything. As long as at no point the horse can actually get further away from you than you have length of rope. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook this on the horse's leg. The horse is going to freak out a little, but that's okay. We're not going to get too worried about that. I'm going to go get on the other end of the rope, and then I'm going to ask the horse to move. And then I'm going to start putting pressure on this, just lightly, very lightly. I'm going to pull just a little wee bit on this until the horse stops. And when it stops, I'm going to release. I'm going to release the pressure. And I'm going to repeat this as many times as necessary, and it may take a couple days, depending on the horse. I don't know. And I got 2 horses here. I'm going to do this exact thing with today. And so that's why I got this out here, is because I'm actually going to use it. And I am going to use it in this round pen. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the same process. And eventually I want her to get to the point where not only will she stop, but she won't even kick at this thing. So if I'm pulling on it and there's pressure on her hind leg, equivalent to, say, if she got caught in wire or something, what is the horse going to do? It's going to stop and not fight. It's not going to kick at it. It's not going to struggle. It's not going to panic. It's just going to come to a stop. And ultimately, that's what you want. Because, like I said, this can actually save the horse's life. In worst case scenario, because if a horse was to struggle in wire, it could get cut quite badly and actually end up hurting itself to the point where it's fatal. And at the very least, you're going to have a lame horse, possibly a permanently lame horse, a heck of a vet bill, all kinds of things. And this very simple thing can actually prevent all of that from happening. So that's what we're going to do. Just take a rope, and like I say, it doesn't have to be a lariat. That's what I'm using today, but it doesn't have to be one. But you want to make a figure 8 out of the loop and then double it around in case of this one. So that's going to stay on the horse's leg fairly well, I hope, and not fall off so easily if she gets fussy and starts kicking, because if it's too loose, it will just fall off when they kick the first time. And well, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here. We want it to stay on there, and as it moves, we put a tiny bit of pressure on. As soon as the horse stops, we release pressure. Repeat that a few times, and then you take it up to the next level, which is, well, if it hasn't already stopped kicking at it by then, is you will actually apply pressure until the horse stops kicking, and then as soon as it stops kicking, release. And that way the horse learns that the release of pressure happens when they stop struggling, stop moving, stop kicking, stop all this stuff. Something that can, in certain situations, actually injure it quite badly, and we don't want that happening. We're trying to protect the horse here is what we're trying to do by doing this. And it's not a technique that you're going to use a lot of. It's not something you need to do regularly. Once they get really good with this kind of thing, just repeat it once in a while to make sure the horse still knows it. But it's not something that you personally are going to use on a daily basis. So it's not like some of the cues that you're going to want to get really, really, really good. And it may, depending on the horse, it might only take one session. It might actually only take 10 or 15 minutes to get somewhere with it. And on the other hand, it might take a few hours. It all depends. We just don't know for sure. And like I say, I got 2 of them I'm going to do this with today, and I have absolutely no idea what we're getting into. The one for sure, she reacts to stuff touching her legs. So I think the one for sure we're going to have a little situation with, but that's okay. That's all the more reason to be doing it, because we want to eliminate that situation so that less risk of her getting hurt. So anyhow, that's it. It's that simple. You just get a rope long enough that the horse can never get out of your reach. If you're, say, in the middle of your area, you're not going to be off in the opposite corner. That's not going to happen. You're going to be somewhere in the middle of it, so it can go around you, and it doesn't matter whether it's square, rectangular, whatever. As long as you've got enough rope that at no time is the horse going to pull it out of your hand, and then you can ask it to move, and if it starts getting fussy about it, just put a tiny bit of pressure on. That's okay. That's what you actually want, a little bit of reaction, because you can't fix what isn't broken. And so when the horse reacts, you put a tiny bit of pressure on. When it finally comes to a stop, you just release pressure, let the rope go slack, and then the horse learns that standing still and relax, and that's the thing to do. So I hope that helps you. I really would have thought it'd be a lot more to it than that, but that went really quick. And so I hope I actually didn't miss anything. But like I said, I'm going to look when I'm editing this and see if I can find another one. And if I can find a video where somebody's actually doing it, then I will put a link down in the description for you. And like I said, I don't care if it's somebody else. As long as you learn this stuff, it's important. If I can find the video, I will put a link to it. And please watch it if it's there. If I don't find one, it won't be there. But anyhow, meantime, have a great day. Go play with your horse. And I'm really sorry I couldn't show you this in real time, but I got nobody behind the camera as usual, so it'd be pretty much impossible, and you wouldn't get to see much anyhow. So you probably got a better grasp of what's going on by just me explaining it, and that way you know how to do it. Anybody can do this. This is not, you don't have to be anybody special to do this stuff. You just have to realize that the minute that horse stops moving, give it release. And when it's moving and you don't want it to, initially when you first ask it to move, you won't be putting pressure on, but because it's doing what you're asking it to do, you're asking it to move. So you want it to move, but you also want it to stop as soon as you put some pressure on. So that once you got it moving, then you put a tiny bit of pressure on, and when it stops and stops fussing, release. Simple as that. That's all you got to do, and it might just save your horse's life. So please take the time to do it. Have a good day. Bye now.